Hello and welcome. I hope you're safe and well. In today's exciting episode, we take a look at everything that I made and some things that I finished in March 2025. They were so pretty. It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket. Okay, well, compared to April 2025, March is actually pretty manageable. So there are some that I've seen subsequently beaded, but I don't have any footage of what they looked like when I just made them. So anyway, at the end of February, I made 2 watermelon jackets, and then at the start of March I beaded them. This is the smaller of the 2, and I didn't quite have enough of the watermelon fabric, so I made the back piece out of pink fabric. I really should have used something else or done a cropped back. There would have been enough for a cropped one. Anyway, I decided to do a regular size piece of watermelon. Actually, it's pretty large, but wait until you see the second one. It's even bigger. And yeah, so it's sequins. They're large sequins. They're 10 or 12 millimeters, so about the size of your thumbnail if you just have regular, not long nails. And I made this. I traced one of the little bits of watermelon on this, and then I enlarged it and I traced that onto a bit of tissue paper, pinned it on, and then did this sequin beading on there. So it's a really intricate style of beading. So I'll put a link to my beading tutorial in the description box below, but also a link to that episode because it's a very tricky type of beading. It's not tricky so much as you just have to hold something at exactly the right place, and yeah. So anyway, and that's the back. So I'm very proud of the back because it's all nice and clean. So this is the second watermelon piece that I did on the jacket I had enough to do the whole of the back as well as the front of this jacket. Oh my gosh, this one took forever because it's much larger than the other one. And it was so much fun to do because it's really difficult beading. And then once I'd done it, I was like, okay, I'm going to bead the rest of this jacket. And originally I put these antique creamy white pearls on there, and they've got the slightest blush of pink in them. They're beautiful. And the pearls weren't really enough. So then in between each pearl, I dotted these transparent sequins, and if you flash them one way, they sort of got a yellowy vanilla tinge, and if you flash them the other way, they've got a pinkish twinge. So at night they look absolutely amazing because obviously at night you have lots of lights and the light reflects off the shiny plastic sequins, so it looks like there's twice as much beading, and then during the day it sort of looks a bit more sedate. It's really cool. And then the back looks like a Judith Lederberg purse. It's just there's so much work in it. When I started, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I bit off more than I could chew with this one, but I really love it. And then I did a third watermelon that was in beige and pinks, and it was on the back of a beige and pink jacket, the La Croix one. And yeah, it didn't really work out. So I had to painstakingly take that off. And then I was like, okay, well, I really want to bead something. And so then I ended up doing this one, which has just beading on the back. I still haven't beaded the front and the sides. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. It's kind of related to the Jaffa jacket. The other, I'll show you in a sec, faux leather jacket. I've got 2 faux leather gold jackets. This one is a sort of pale full gold, and the other one is a sort of olivey antique gold color. And this is sort of the first time I've done this type of beading. I think in North America, definitely this type of beading is generally just connected with Indigenous or Native American beaders. It is practiced by Europeans, but generally speaking, I try not to do that sort of beading, but I needed it for that particular design to work. So I'm not sure what I'll do with, this is the Jaffa jacket that I was talking about. I love the front and the sleeves of this one. They are just remarkable, and they took forever to do, and I love the red triangles at the wrists as well. So I'm not sure if I'll do the same type of sleeve designs and front design for the other gold jackets. I'm not sure. I have a few things to fix on the 4 days jacket, this one here, and once I finish them, I'll do the rest. But I don't know. The beading on the antique gold jacket, I actually cut out the pieces of the jacket, sewed both sleeve pieces together, sewed the front together, sewed the back together, then beaded it, then made the whole jacket. So I'm not sure, because the sleeves are relatively narrow. I don't know how you get, because the design's so complex, I just not sure I could do the beading on the sleeves, but I could do like bits on the wrist and bits on the front. That would be relatively easy. Anyway, the next two jackets that I made were the boho. Like, I have this absolutely gorgeous fabric. Well, I've used it now, obviously, but I bought this in the middle of last year, and it's just 1 yard of fabric, and I was going to make a Chanel style jacket, and then there wasn't, because it's a bit narrower. It's not fashion width, it's more like a quilting cotton width, so it wasn't really enough fabric to make a Chanel style jacket. So then I was like, oh, I'll make one of those kimono style ones. But then I started making these tiny little bolero jackets with the short sleeves, and I was like, actually, if I make two jackets, then I can do one with the beads, the flower shaped beads, and I can do another one that's something different. So I had bronze beads, but I also have these tiny little bronze keys. They're like jewelry, and there was just like a bunch of them that they didn't want anymore. And they were on sale, and I was like, yes, please. So I got all them, and yeah. So I decided to make the two jackets. One would have flowers on it, and one would have the keys on it. And because the fabric is kind of boho bohemian, I call them boho floral and boho keys. So these are the two jackets. One of them has slightly more puff sleeves, and I made that one the boho keys because it does have a lot of tiny little keys, but they're little bits of jewelry, so they're relatively light. So I thought that would be better on the puffier sleeves. And then the ones with the standard sleeves, I decided to make that the floral one. So these are the two jackets, and as I may or may not have said, it's kind of got elements of 1970s and 1960s floral motifs in there. It's just the weirdest mix. So some parts look really 1970s, and some parts look more 1950s, 1960s. So yeah, and the colors are just, I just love. It's not a mix that I normally use, but I absolutely love it. I do have this magenta Chanel tweed that sort of incorporates browns and khaki and olive colors, as well as the purples and magenta and dark reds, and it reminded me of that. So these are the flower bits. I actually did the boho keys one first, but I had to sort of count out the flower bits because I have lots of mauvey purple flowers, and I'm going to make them into a mauvey purple jacket. But then, because when you buy flowers, you normally get a bunch of mixed colors, and so they had these sort of magenta ones and bright purple ones, and I don't want them in my pale mauve jackets. So and I had a few orange ones that are they're the wrong shade for my orange jacket. And then I had these random brown ones, like what else am I going to use them in? So I was originally going to use them on this brown sequin jacket. But then when I bought this fabric in the middle of last year, I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. And as it happened, like, I thought I had enough for a full-size Chanel jacket. But as it happened, there's just enough for this this bolero with short sleeves that takes up half the amount of fabric. So it's kind of good that I went with this size jacket. And at first it looked just really dodgy, like it was just the flowers and no strings of beads. And it just, I don't know, it looked a bit rough. So then I added the strings of beads and I absolutely love it. I'll show you the finished jacket in a second, but this is just after I'd finished the back, and I used, if you know the Egyptian jacket, the Egyptian tweed jacket is made from this amazing Lesage style tweed. It's gold on gold, and then I put gold beads on top, but also so that it wouldn't be too heavy. Every second bead is actually just a stack of sequins, and these are some of the leftover sequins from that. So they're a really yellow gold, like a bling gold, and then on top of them are little novelty shaped sequins. So it's a little stack of big sequin, bead, smaller sequin, bead. And then like that's how I did the triangle for that one. And then after I'd done the two boho jackets, I made the flowers for springtime ones, but we'll see them in a sec. But first I'll show you the two boho jackets as they are at the moment. So this is boho keys with the puffy sleeves, and oh my gosh, the beading on this is so tiny. I actually had to use a thinner thread than I normally use, and a thinner, like a beading needle, which is, beading needles are much thinner than regular sewing needles. And because of that, like if you bend them slightly or try to take them out in a not exactly straight way, they bend and they curve really easily. So it's really frustrating to work with them, but sometimes you just have to. Anyway, I absolutely love the way that this one turned out. And I do think I do have some more keys, enough to do the sleeves, the cuffs. I love how they've got some over the rise of the shoulders, and I love the way they hang down on the back. And then I used these I did another gold triangle on the back for this one, but I used a brownie bronze gold sequin for these ones, and the slightly smaller sequins as well. They're about, I think they're a 7 or 8 millimeter. So they're about 2/3 the size of the big yellow gold ones that I used on the back of the other jacket. And they just, because the jewellery keys are a sort of bronzy colour, they match it much better. But I do think it needs the additional beadwork on the sleeves. This one, I did manage to do the beadwork on the sleeves, but I haven't done the beadwork on the rise of the shoulders. I do have enough flowers to do the shoulders, so I should do that. But yeah, I just sort of moved on to other things. But I really, really like the way that this turned out. I love how I used the gold pebbles in this. I think they're really good. They look really good. I wasn't sure about it at first. I was like, ugh, I don't know. But yeah. And I took the sound out. It sort of has a jingly sound to it, but they're also quite plastic. A lot of them are plastic. So it's a sort of jingly sound, sort of a plastic hitting plastic sound. And I love it. Was I didn't have enough fabric to do a full length one, so it is a little bit cropped. But I think because all the flowers and beads hang down so far, I think it's, yeah, I really like the way that it turned out. It went through a real ugly duckling phase, so yeah, maybe I sound a little bit overly positive about it, but I think it's mostly just relief. And yeah, it's just so complex. Like you could look at this forever and see all different things in there. It's kind of amazing to me that all the flowers that I had, like I had this big bag of flowers. I ended up taking some of the grey black and grey brown ones out and using them on the grey flower jacket that I did I finished it in January. I started beading it in December. So I guess there were originally more flowers in there, and I also had some beads as well as flowers. But it's amazing to me that all those flowers that I had from my collection, my bead collection, got used up in this one jacket. I suppose a lot of them are actually dripping off down below the jacket. So in effect, it's a full-size jacket, but Yeah, it's pretty amazing sometimes. You just keep working and working on something, and then you turn around and you're like, wow, I really did use a lot. Anyway, so after I did those ones, I had 5 more jackets to make, and I made them. So I beaded this one later on, but I actually made this jacket, and this one has puff sleeves. What I love about this jacket is, last time I showed it to you, I mentioned that I hadn't done the triangle on the back, but I'm going to use the leftover fish beads, and I bought a couple of bags of oranges, and I'm going to use the net, and I'm going to make like a fishing net triangle, and I'm going to bead the pin it in place by stitching the fish over the top. So as it happens, one is red and one is orange, and they go perfectly with the design of the fabric and the design of the beading. So I'm going to do the feature on the back out of those. And next up we have this one here. So I had bought 1 yard of they're the same style as the watermelon jackets, and I had enough of this fabric. It's got tiny, tiny little indigo flowers with these beautiful bright green leaves. I love green's my favorite color, so that's why I bought it. So I ended up being able to make 2 jackets out of this Liberty on the left, this Liberty floral. I've got 2 jackets out of that, and then 2 out of the indigo one on the right. And then this one here, I only had half a yard of fabric left because I'd used the other half to make a bodice for a dress. So yeah, these were my florals for springtime. So this is 3 out of 5 of them, and they've all sort of got different size torsos, like some are cropped, some are full length, and then different types of sleeves on each of them. So if you want, yeah, this one's slightly puffier sleeve and slightly longer as well, because I actually had 2 yards of this fabric, so I tried the longer sleeves. I don't really like the longer sleeves. I'll show you towards the end. I show you the indigo fabric, and it's a cropped jacket with cropped sleeves, like little cap sleeves. That one is the one that I like because it supports the weight of the beading really well. I do love this design, but I think you can see how the sleeves sort of fall in on themselves when there's no person inside it to sort of, obviously your arms hold it out a bit. And then I tip the fish beads on the net. So yeah, you get an idea of what I'm going for with the design feature on the back. Anyway, I think next we have one of the indigo jackets. So this is the larger of the 2 indigo jackets. And so the sleeves are longer, the torso is longer. On the other one, it's cropped. And I just love, it's the green leaves that I love on this. I mean, the flowers are cute enough. They're sort of indigoed out to mauve on the edges. And then they've got these gorgeous, gorgeous green leaves. And then I did the 3 different types of beading on there. There's solid green, solid navy blue, and then around the neckline and around the cuffs and around the hem, so around the bottom of the torso, there's these grass green, transparent green beads, and they're just adorable. I love the way that one turned out. And this is the leftover fabric. If you've seen my burrito method video where I make the sleeveless bodice for a dress, this is the second half. I only had 1 yard of that fabric, and the leftovers of it was like half a yard. So yeah, I finally got to use it to make this bolero jacket, and then I beaded it because it's a vintage style print, but the roses are a little bit too bright, a little bit too neon. So I finally got to use up all my bright beads. So I was very happy with that one. But again, if I had my time over, I would probably make the sleeves a little bit shorter. I think next with yes, this is my favorite one. See how the sleeves are much shorter? They're cropped, sort of a cap sleeve. That was out of necessity because I only had 1 yard of quilting cotton. Quilting, like normal apparel fabrics or fashion fabrics, fashion width, so 60 inches wide, whereas quilting cottons are 45 inches wide or 112 centimeters of print, and 115 centimeters with the gutters, like the selvages where there's no print. So it was tricky getting all the pieces out. The sleeves, actually, I had to piece them together. So I cut out the front half of the sleeve and then the back half of the sleeve, then hand stitched them together. Then once the sleeve was made, I sewed them onto the jacket. And this is, if you want to see a full 360 of what the beading is like, I didn't do the beading until April. So you can see a more detailed look at each of these beaded jackets in either the video where I beaded them, or if you're just looking at the playlist for everything I made, then April 2025 is the one where those ones were beaded. I got to use up loads of leaf beads and also those fish beads. It was so much fun. I actually have these other leaf beads. They're smaller and they're transparent green. There's sort of that grass green, and I really wanted to use them on this particular fabric because the green leaves in this quilting cotton print are so amazing. I love them, but I couldn't find the box that those beads were in, so I'll have to use them. I've got so many floral prints, it's ridiculous, so I'll have to use them on something else. Oh, and we have one last jacket. So the second Liberty colourful flower print jacket, whoopsie, I just realized, so this one on the right is the Liberty colourful flower print, and I made 2 jackets out of this. The one with the fish beads that's going to have the net design on the back is the sleeves that are slightly longer, and then I had one that has sleeves that are slightly shorter, and I turned that into the green beaded one. So I think looking at these sleeves, they look slightly longer. So I think this might be the jacket that I turned into the one with the fish on it that's going to have the net design on the back. But anyway, you can see what it looks like. So this is what it looks like without the weight of the beads, and this is one with slightly smaller sleeves. I think the cap sleeves look so much better, and they carry the weight of the beads. Well, not that I've got around to beading this one yet, but generally speaking, the cap sleeves carry the weight of the beads much better. So I've actually got 2 different types of green beads on this one. They're darker than the other green beads that I showed you. These are a true dark green, whereas the other ones were sort of more like a brightish dark green. And I do have a little bit left of this fabric, so I could use it in another layer cake dress. I haven't made a layer cake dress in ages, or I could make a third bolero out of them and bead that in like maybe red and blue, because I've got the fish one, I've got this green one, and the other really obvious colours in that jacket are red and blue. Plus I have these amazing vintage flowers. I've got them in blue, maroon colour and red, so that would be pretty awesome. And then lastly, I almost finished my Paca Rabanne green, emerald green jacket, so there's still a tiny bit to go. Last time you saw it, there was a little patch under one sleeve that wasn't finished. Still haven't finished it. It will take me like 15 minutes, half an hour to finish it max. So anyway, I made these jackets. So in the month before, I think I made them in February, and I started beading it and sort of did a reasonable amount. Well, from the front, it looks like a reasonable amount of beading, but then I had to do the whole of the back and the whole of the back of the sleeves. And under the sleeves, you have to cut the sequin in half and just stick them on half. So they're sort of folded so that half of them sticks up, but obviously under the sleeve you can't do that because it would stick into the sleeve and stick into the side of you. So there is a tiny bit more work involved in folding them in half, cutting them properly and things like that. And with the back, because this particular design reminded me so much of vintage Paco Rabanne items, dresses and jackets from the 1960s, I was like, oh, there's this coat, and it's a leather coat, and the front outside has been painted in silver, and in the inside of it, to keep you warm, is this red fluffy wool. So I was going to do red fluffy triangle on the back as the design feature, but I don't think so. I think might just leave it. Like, I've got a bit of net over the triangle so that I knew where not to bead. So I think I might just take that net out and leave it as a negative space silver triangle. And it kind of feels like the jacket is a little bit too cropped. So I might add some chandelier beading off the bottom. I'm not sure though. It wouldn't really, it's not really Paco Rabanne-esque to do that, but it does kind of need the weight, so we'll see. Anyway, so that is everything that I made in March 2025, and a few things that I beaded but still haven't finished beading. This is what the original design for the boho keys was, and yeah, the sleeves were sort of based on a Balenciaga collection from several years ago now. But yeah, it was I love those two watermelons. I absolutely want to do more watermelons. They do take forever to bead, but they're just so fun. And I've bought more of some of the paler pink sequin, which I didn't really have enough of. So now I have enough to do quite a few, I think. I'm not sure I'll do this massive watermelon like I did on the back of this one. The first watermelon I did, which was like about half the size, took a lot less time, obviously, and it weighs less, and I think it's better suited to those little bolero jackets. So yeah, I definitely think I'll do a few more of those and just use up all the sequin that I have. And yeah, because it was so much fun, time consuming, but so much fun to do, and they look amazing. So that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you figured out what sort of sleeves you like and saved yourself making a million mock-ups. You can just look at the ones I did and decide which ones you would like. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and happy sewing!